So I think you have to kind of go back to like, I've been trying to like lose weight since I was like 14 years old. My mom put me on not Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem.
Mm.
And so all of my life, I've been trying to be the most ideal weight. And you can look at me now and say, oh, she's, looks good, I'm a size 6 and everything. But even then, I'm still considered to be overweight, which is like blows my mind because I weigh like nothing that I used to weigh.
Hmm.
So about 2 years ago in April, I weighed about 220 pounds. My highest weight, and so like in weight loss community, you say your highest weight is 250. So my highest weight ever was 250 pounds. And then I lost weight on and off using like really extreme ones like HCG, which you eat like 500 calories a day, or ones where I finally just really had a lot of calorie restriction.
Mm.
So I went in and I had weight loss surgery and lost about 80 pounds.
Okay.
So, but in weight loss, they were always like, you have to have 80 grams of protein a day, 80 grams of meat, 80 grams, 80 grams. So I was constantly, for every meal, it was like meat, meat, meat. So I ate 5 times a day. My breakfast was 1 egg and 1 slice of cheese that sometimes I could finish. My snack was always like a string cheese and maybe one or two or some cottage cheese. My lunch was some kind of dinner, either it was like chicken or beef that we had left over. My afternoon snack was some other kind of like yogurt. My dinner was going to be beef or meat. So it was like 5 times a day for almost a year and a half that I ate meat, and I was just sick of it.
Mm.
And before that, I was always like, people called me like, oh, you're from the Hidden Valley. And people thought I ate really healthy because I ate a lot of vegetables and I ate meat too. But I was like more balanced then. And I ate beans and rice growing up and corn tortillas and everything. So in July, Alex, my fiance, and I, he has a dairy allergy. So this was July of last year, of 2016. And I was looking for recipes that I could replace cheese in for him so that we could, eat some more of the similar things. He's gluten-free and dairy-free. And so I found you and your nacho cheese sauce or your cheesy sauce. And we tried it. And then I was like, she kind of has these meal plans that have these, really yummy kind sounding recipes. Let's try it for a month. And we'll eat that in addition to the meat that we're having. And so like I bought your meal plans and we started batching. And I was like, you know what? I love this way more than any meat. I was so sick of meat. I was like, if I have to eat another piece of meat, I'm going to shoot myself in the face. And I was just like, I just want to eat all of what she has because it was phenomenal. It was the July 15th plan. And so it was like so good because it was such a change from what I was doing. But I still took protein shakes because I was so freaked out that I was going to lose my hair. Like in the weight loss world, if you don't have enough protein, oh my God, you're going to lose your hair and you're going to die of malnutrition. And so I still took Genopro, which is one of the weight loss supplements that you take that have a high number of protein grams to a very small amount because your stomach is so small. And then I started doing the community and reading and learning. And people were like, well, read Proteinaholic by Garth Davis or read the Nutrition Facts by Dr. Greger. Mm-hmm. And I started doing that. And then Dr. Garth Davis actually came to Tucson to the loft and presented. And I was like, look, I'm a weight loss patient and I'm thinking about being whole food plant-based, but I have found nothing out there that says you're okay, that you're not going to die. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he was like, can't advise you because you're not my patient. He says, but what I tell people is you're going to get enough protein and nutrients from the food that you eat. But I was still really freaked out by it because this was like counterintuitive to everything I'd heard for the last year and a half that I was going to die by the wayside if I didn't have enough protein. Mm-hmm. So I took the plunge and I stopped taking protein supplements. And then I went to my doctor, who was a weight loss doctor, who did my surgery. And I said, okay, I'm like really nervous. Check my labs. Tell me what's going on. And I said, I haven't had any I've only been drinking protein drinks. They came back, oh, your labs are beautiful. You're great. In fact, you're taking too much vitamin, so you can get off your multivitamin, which is like unheard of. You have to take your multivitamin if you're on weight loss surgery. I had to get off my iron because I had too much iron. My levels were so good because I was having such a variety of food in the diet from all the meal plans that I was eating. And I was eating your meal plans like 5 times a day because I hate oatmeal. And smoothies don't sit well in my stomach and juices because of how much, just the amount that can fit into what I can process
Right.
at a time.
Right.
And so, so finally I felt like confident enough to get off even the protein powder. So I really haven't had the protein powder since about September, and have been eating totally whole food, plant-based since then. Um, Alex started seeing that I no longer was throwing up. So what happened was, when I was eating, you can only fit about 4 ounces in your small stomach. It's like the size of a banana. And I would throw up like once a week. And I would always be like, oh, it was one bite too many. Or it would make my stomach hurt and I'd have to go lay down and I'd fall asleep because it was just not reacting well. Once I stopped eating meat, I stopped throwing up. I haven't thrown up at all since since about, I would say, in like the last bite of meat that I probably had was in like late July for a piece of ribs. And that was the last time it made me sick that I threw up. So I stopped throwing up, and Alex was like, wow, you're doing so great. And we had gone on a trip to Jerome, which is just a couple like hours away from our house. And we went to bread and breakfast, and we came home, and he's like, I'm really thinking about just stopping meat, because it usually for him had been meal plan and then a side of meat. And his fear was always that he wasn't going to get full. Like, your food was not going to make him feel full, and that he was going to starve because he wasn't full. And he's a big guy. He's like 245 pounds. He's 5'10". He's not a small man. And then we just started slowly transitioning him away from is that me or you?
It's me. It's a helicopter. It happens all the time
Okay.
over here.
I was like, great. I was like, so we transitioned him. He's like, finally in October, he's like, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to see how I feel. And what I didn't know was that he was actually taking 8 to 12 Advil a day for his rheumatoid arthritis levels.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
A lot of Advil. And I didn't realize that because as a weight loss patient, I don't take NSAIDs. So I wasn't monitoring how much Advil we were using. So after about like a month, he comes to me and he's like, babe, I haven't been taking Advil anymore. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, I was taking about 8 to 12 a day. And I was like, oh my God. He goes, since I stopped eating meat in October, I don't have to take the Advil every day. So we were like, okay. So we like watched his inflammation, all of those things. So finally, fast forward, he's been totally whole food plant-based since October. We actually have moved his lunches because he travels around all day. So we have to pack a cooler with like water and his food and everything like that. So he's whole food plant-based, cold all day, food and everything. And in Tucson, when it's really hot, it was just a matter of how do we pack that so it stays cold and refrigerated. So he used to just eat salads and meat with his lunch, and now he eats meal plans for his lunch. And we always make sure he has leftovers that are whatever the meal plan is for him for the week. So that's how he does it. And when we had his labs checked right before we left Tucson in June, his doctor was like totally yelling at him. He's like, he was a DO. He's like, how can you give up meat? That's not good for you, especially as an RA patient. You need to be eating more meat and you need to have this. But he had been reading The Proteinaholic along with me and watching What the Health and watching Folks Over Knives and reading Dr. Greger's stuff, How Not to Die. And he's like, no, I'm kind of like, no more Advil. I'm really good. And so he actually got his labs back and his RA levels are almost normal, where they had been really out of whack, showing the inflammation and everything. So his are pretty normal. Now he still has some elevated levels, and I know he's not here to tell me I think it's either the white blood count or the other one, but they're so close to being kind of normal that he's like, I'm never going to go back to eating meat. So he's like, I'm totally done with it.
Wow. So it's not just your life that's changed, it's his too. That's incredible. Yeah. Well, damn, that's like quite the story. And like, I can only imagine once you like got off the protein shakes and you stopped taking the multivitamins, like, did you just feel kind of duped and like, what the hell? Like kind of angry that you were told this so many times, like, you have to get this much protein, you have to do this, you have to do this. And to realize like, no, I fucking didn't. Like, did that bring up some, cause I imagine I'm putting myself in your shoes and I'm thinking I would be kind of like pissed that I had like, not at myself, but like, I guess, I don't know who you get pissed at because the whole medical system is kind of like, fucked, and we can't count on them for information about nutrition because they don't learn nutrition. Doctors don't. But it's just like so sad that people don't know this stuff.
Yeah, it was really sad to realize that I had been limiting myself to so few foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so to know that I was not actually even getting a variety of foods, and I was actually feeling like I was doing worse to my system, and I was throwing up for so long, that I could have been really avoiding that, and avoiding all of the things that go along with it, and having a better quality of life. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of really annoying because, it sucks to throw up. It's gross. It just makes you feel yucky. And then I fall asleep because my body hurts just from that whole thing. And then, and then I'm at work and I'm going, okay, I'll be right back. And I have to go get a kid. And I'm like, I need to go puke. And I'm just like, it's not working for me. So there was a lot of that part of it. And then I also wonder if I had been presented with this kind of option about if I had done whole food plant based even before, because I've tried a million diets. I mean, I've gone down to the 500 calories a day kind of a thing. And now to be in this situation where you can eat as much as you want of greens and corn and beans and grains, and you're going to be okay. And to see all the community who does that, it's like, wow, I really, wish I had had that opportunity to think about it. Now, I may have still chosen to have weight loss surgery, but at least I would have had a more fuller picture of what life could have been like. Because now it's like I only eat 4 ounces, and so I brought a little jar to show you what 4 ounces looks like. So
Mm-hmm.
this is one of my jars that I take to work every day that has my food, that shows my 4 ounces of food.
Mm-hmm.
And people laugh, and I eat about 5 of these a day to
Mm-hmm.
this size.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's not a lot. That's
no,
not that. Yeah, yeah.
no.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's the whole diet thing. I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, there's so many different diets out there, and so many people who do our meal plans and who are in the community are used to like this history of trying every single diet out there, and it's always about restriction and calorie restriction and not eating and depriving yourself. And it's like my whole thing with what I'm doing is not only to, help people get off of unnecessary medication and to get their health back, but like to show people that it's not about how much you eat. It's about the quality of what you eat. It's not about restricting calories. It's about concentrating on the nutrient density and the quality of those calories. And it's just this message that people are just not used to hearing that or seeing that. And even people, and this is
No.
what gets me, I mean, even people who have stopped like their diet and who have tried the meal plans and who have lost weight on the meal plans for the first time in a long time still are stuck in that diet mentality and still
Yeah.
are really like slaves to the scale and really, really conscious about still kind of counting calories and still kind of worrying about protein. And it's like it's so ingrained in our society,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so ingrained in our thoughts, and especially people who've been on so many diets. It's just
Yeah.
like even when something else is working that's so much better, it's still there. And so
It
it's,
is.
yeah, and I imagine like to be like kind of deprogrammed from that, it
Mm-hmm.
takes a long time, and I think it takes a long time to trust to to trust food again, or to trust your body, or to trust yourself around food. I mean, it's this very delicate and intricate relationship.
It is. And and the thing is like what I love about being in the community is that the language sometimes that you use is about not about protein, am I getting enough protein, but am I getting enough nutrition? So am I getting enough calories? Am I
Yeah, that's
getting
it.
enough of the good stuff that I need to have in my body? And you know what? I'm not perfect. And then that's one other thing that I love is that I am a flawed human being,
Yep.
and I still
Welcome to the
sometimes will
party.
eat. Yeah, I will still eat something that's not good for me. Today, I it was one of those days where it's like my whole feminine kind of thing is barking on, and I was like, oh, I need a chocolate chip cookie, and I had a chocolate chip cookie. It was, of course, a vegan one because I really don't want to mess up with the butter and dairy and my
Yeah.
stomach be all jacked. But I did indulge, and I'm okay with that. And so, we do the best that we can. And so, like, for example, people ask about like lunches and what do you do for this? And I said about 90% of what we do here is perfect, and then about 10% is our room, our error, our
Yeah.
margin for error.
Yeah, and I think that's such a healthy way to think about it. And that's exactly how I am too. Because I think the whole thing, this is not a diet. And so if we start to tell ourselves, well, we have to be perfect. We have to eat every single thing whole food, plant-based, or else it won't work, or else what happens there is it's then like the all or nothing at all mindset. And then we slip back and think, okay, I fucked up. Well, I'm just not going to do any of it. Screw it. And it's like, it's not worth it, you know? So yes, give yourself that 10% wiggle room, give yourself that chocolate chip cookie, enjoy it, feel good about it, and then carry on and eat something whole food, you know, plant-based the next thing you eat. And I think that not enough people like are able to allow themselves that, you know, and they're just so hard on themselves. And that's the other thing. I mean, yeah, eat the good stuff, but also like give yourself a little space. So I am exactly the same way. And I think it's a really healthy mindset to have, because nobody is perfect. And even if somebody's like, okay, I'm going to do 100%, they won't. It'll only be a matter of time until they don't. So it's either going to be indulge in a cookie now and again, or then like indulge of 2 weeks of like KFC and chocolate cake.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although KFC smells really gross to me right now. So trust me, we don't indulge in the KFC here.
Yeah. No,
that's been the issue. Like sometimes we'll go places and we're like, yeah, that meat smell is not working for us anymore. I don't know why. Other times it's fine, but it's just sometimes that meat is like, it's like turns our stomach. And I think, so we blame you for that. We're like, this is Molly's fault because she made this not smell good anymore. So.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, so how are you like feeling physically now that you like, cause you were eating so much meat, that's crazy. And because you were needing so many grams of protein and all coming from animals, and you were, you know, only eating such little amounts, but throughout the day, like that really left you no room then for anything else. So I mean,
no, it didn't.
That's a crazy amount of meat and dairy to be ingesting. Like, how do you feel physically now compared to then?
So when I was really overweight, I always felt like I had to like chase after children, right? And I would tell them, I am too old and too fat to be chasing you. You need to just stop so we can deal with whatever issue you're having right now. And then I lost down to about 165 pounds, and I felt actually pretty good. I was like, wow, I have more energy and I can do things, but I still was not like, I still felt bloated. And I still, you know, had to take all my vitamins, and I would still like get sick where I would like feel yucky where I, you know, I'd have an episode like once a week. And I even remember the turning point of when I stopped eating ice cream is I had thrown up for like 5 hours after eating ice cream. So, you know, I was like, I don't even want to eat that anymore. Because you don't process sugar as well when you're on weight loss, and you start getting like, it's almost like a hot flash. Your body starts getting all like red and tingly, and you start getting really hot, and you take off all your clothes and you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And your stomach hurts. So you even have to really watch how much sugary, and you used to get really exacerbated by dairy. So now I'm about even 20 pounds less, so about 145, and I don't feel that bloat. I don't feel that yuckiness. I don't get the sick feeling from taking the vitamins because they're not sitting well in my stomach. I don't get sick and throw up. So it's really nice to not feel sick, and then really I can be active and have more energy and do that. And, you know, and I still drink my coffee. I drink my little coffee every morning. You know, I still have an adult beverage, but I don't have that yucky feeling of just feeling like I'm going to like worried that I'm going to get sick from a meal, or worried that I'm going to eat too much and then be puking later. And then I fall asleep, and then I'm not really, you know, being a partner to Alex and my family and being there with them because of it. And, you know, it's funny because my dad always like jokes with me. Like my dad is a huge meat eater. He still is. And I could give him every book on that one. And he's like, oh yeah, vegetarian is just Indian word for slow hunter kind of thing. He's that kind of a person. He's got like six smokers and barbecues at our home in Tucson still. He just is someone who really relishes in meat. And yet one of my fears is that he had colon cancer when he was 35 years old.
Wow.
And so I've always like worried that I'm going to get that I'm going to have that issue. But as I've read more about how whole food plant-based really decreases that risk, and, you know, I still get myself checked out with, you know, colonoscopies, but the last time I had the colonoscopy, what do you call it? The prep was so much easier than the first time where I had to really be worried about what was going to happen. It was really much easier. So now I'm not as concerned, or I'm not as freaked out that, oh my God, I'm going to get colon cancer because I'm 42 years old and that's close to when my dad had it. And so I've tried to talk to him about, hey, how about just decreasing the amount? Not, you don't have to give it up, but just decreasing it. Oh, no. The man is 73 years old. I mean, you're not gonna change him. So, I just love him, and he comes over and he'll eat our food when he comes over, and then tell me it's missing meat. But we're good. He'll still eat it. So
you can do the best you can do, and then you just got to let people be themselves and make their choices and love them through it, and not judge them, and be like, okay, that's what you're going to do. That is your wish. I mean, you got to really practice equanimity and just let people do what they're going to do.
I feel so passionate about this particular aspect that one of the things that was really hard when I was making the transition is to be open and honest that this is my journey. I've had weight loss surgery. I weighed 250 pounds. This is how I looked. And so I've transitioned to a brand new school. And so when people come in and we're talking and I'm getting to know them, it's part of the thing that I talk to them about is like, this is how I used to look. And I've had to embrace the suck, as you would say, of like, I had weight loss surgery and I'm a flawed human being and these are the things. And I think that's also what helps me that people to relate to me better. Like, wow, she is a real person, she, has issues that everybody else has. And, maybe I'm going to be I can listen better and work with her because I trust that what she's saying is reliable, it's valuable, it's all those things.
That's right.
And, I think that is part of why when I was looking for how to transition to this way was hard, because there wasn't a lot of people who would, in the weight loss community on Facebook, they're very adamant that this was not the way to be. There's nobody that I had seen in those kind of forums that would even have touched weight loss. They would have been like, sometimes the ethical vegans, when they so militant about things, when militant bariatric patients are even worse, because they would be like, you're going to die a death of protein if you don't do this. You're going to waste away. And so I actually had to unfollow a lot of them because there was nobody that I could really look to say, am I doing okay? Am I going to be okay in this journey? Mm-hmm. And then I've met people in our community like Laura Elsing, mm-hmm. who, she had those things. And now I've seen a couple other people popping up and being open and saying, yeah, I had weight loss surgery. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's becoming okay. But still, even in the bariatric community, a lot of people would be very anti not eating any meat or dairy for any of our meals. And they would be like, I'd be crucified for even saying that. Mm-hmm. So, you have to, of course they'd be like, you have to go to your nutritionist, you have to go to your weight loss doctor, you have to do all those aspects. But I'm also trying to tell people you can be whole food, plant-based, eating variety of foods, eating carbs, eating grains, and you're not going to gain weight because of it. In fact, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to lose weight because of it. And that freaks people out.
It blows people's mind, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Especially people who are like the Atkins, like, oh my God, I lost weight on Atkins and all that stuff. And now when I'm like, no, in fact, I was just talking to a lady at my school who's considering weight loss surgery. And I was telling her, she's like, well, so what do you eat during the day? And I said, well, for breakfast today, I made like a spinach, pesto with walnuts and nooch. And instead of basil, I used spinach and some leftover lettuce from last week's meal plan. And I made some pasta and I had that. And then for my mid-morning snack, I had the Tex-Mex lasagna. And then for lunch today, I had because I only eat a small amount, I will sometimes take dinner for lunch and have it again. So I had the bean soup for dinner for lunch today. And then my afternoon snack was the tofu scramble with a little bit of quinoa at the bottom. And then for dinner, I had, again, a little bit of guacamole and the bean soup. So, and she's like, those are all carbs. And she goes, and she's like very concerned. And then she's like, because she's considering weight loss surgery and she's probably over 300 pounds, maybe close to 400. And she's like looking at me like, you're eating a lot of carbs, and there are vegetables in there. But when I eat like just a lot of greens, I have to eat more often. So I know that about my body. Like if I have a meal with kale and coconut aminos, which, oh my God, steamed kale and coconut aminos, who knew that I was going to love that? And some sesame seeds. Again, it's a Molly issue. I know that I'm going to have to probably eat a snack an hour later just because my body's going to process it because of how little I eat, which is fine. I get that. And I meal plan and I batch and I bring snacks accordingly. Yeah. And that's the other part, is really having that batching, because it's really easy to fall into convenience food when you're out shopping and doing that part.
Oh yeah.
And so if I pre-plan and make sure I have everything with me, I stay better on track with things.
That's right.
And, for me, like I carry granola bars with me a lot of the time. I try to find ones that are, less processed, but it's not perfect. But that's just like my go-to snack in case I'm out somewhere and I get caught and I need like a snack that I'm not going to like start feeling. My Alex calls it, I go spacey a little bit, because I just don't eat as much. So I always have those snacks.
Yeah.
And then, and then with learning how you are and learning the meal plans, I've learned that I can eat sauces. Like I used to like never eat mayonnaise because, oh my God, it's going to make me fat. And I never ate salad dressings because it'll make you fat. And so now like half of my meals can be like salad dressings and mayo and all of those things. And he goes, yeah, you are a sauce whore. And, and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He goes, I don't think people realize how much sauce that you eat. I'm like, I know it's sad, but it's okay. It's all good. And I know that they're good nutrient foods that are going to still give me, nutrition. And I'm okay with that because I'm not worried that, oh my God, if I have a tablespoon of mayonnaise, I'm going to, gain 15 pounds. Yeah. And so that has been also just a game changer for me. Like I overdid it at the beginning with like all the sauces, and now I find a little bit better of a balance. Okay, maybe not, but we'll just go with that. I do find a better balance, but it's really been helpful and lovely to at least have that option. Like I didn't even know that I liked Thousand Island dressing until I tried yours. I didn't even know I liked Caesar dressing until I tried yours because it didn't have those artificially kinds of flavors. Yeah. And so learning how to cook in the whole food plant-based way has been a process because of the meal plans for me. And so for me, I always advocate, I'm like, I make no money off of Molly. I make nothing off of it. I pay for the meal plans just like everybody else. And I batch cook myself. I have no preview. I said, but it really has helped me to embrace that I don't have to cook with oil, which has been another like, oh my God, I never knew. Yeah. Like, it's so much easier to clean pans now, which I always thought you oiled your pans because it was going to be easier to clean. No, that is so not true. Yeah. Like things that I think are going to be the stickiest stuff come out and I'm just like, oh my God, I've imagined it like with the oil, what was it doing to my insides. And now I'm seeing it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much easier to clean. And so I've actually been able to then transition some of my like family recipes into whole food plant-based, which for me has really been comforting. So like, like sopa de arroz, which I guess you call it Mexican rice. And so now instead of using oil to toast my rice, I just dry toast it and add a little bit of water when I add the onion, and I use veggie stock. So I'm like, oh my God, that's like the same flavors that I'm used to with my growing up. Yep. Or like tamales. I found another blog that she has a way to make tamales that are kind of really authentic tasting, but use pumpkin instead of lard or shortening. And for me, I made like 16 dozen tamales, and which is just a little bit of tamales in my life. And so, but they're whole food plant-based, and it was like, I can still have all the flavors of things that I've grown up with that are comfort foods for me. Yep. And I've been able to whole food plant-based the recipes and make it so that I can eat them and not walk away with like, oh my God, because tamales usually have a lot of lard. And when I'm talking lard, like you pull it apart and it's kind of like dripping and you get the mouthfeel. And, it's great and that's fine. But then you also get a lot of extra pounds to go with it. And so now I'm like, oh, you can have 5 tamales because they're made with pumpkin and corn and all good things inside of it. And you're not going to feel like you just had this really heavy meal.
This is really incredible. And I'm really happy for you. And I'm really mostly, so proud of you and happy for you to being able to like speak your truth and not
Yeah.
feel ashamed of it or bad
Yeah.
about it or beat yourself up about it or feeling like, are people going to judge me? Are they going to be mean to me? Because I mean, it's a terrible feeling. And when we can reach the point in saying like, yeah, this is me. I'm
Yeah.
not perfect. Nobody is. And because I know that the people, we all learn from each other. And when people are honest and they speak their truth and they say, yeah, I'm not perfect, this is what I went through, then people can relate to that and people can resonate with that humanness, and it helps other people. So I applaud you for, doing this with me and opening up and
Yeah.
sharing your experience with me, and also just in your day-to-day life as well,
Yeah. It was, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the first time when you put something on there, and I think Laura, I think, was it Laura who had found it based on one of the comments, it freaked me out a little bit because I was like, I wasn't ready to start telling people and saying that I was, I had a weight loss patient. And now I'm like your biggest advocate. And so like, even like today, I was talking to a staff member and she's like, I watched What the Health. And I'm like, that's great. And she's like, I'm really trying to incorporate more dishes into my thing, but I don't know how to cook it. All I know how to make is roasted veggies and, the other part. And so I was like, oh, I said, well, let me give you a list of some, blogs. And I said, this one I have to always be like, cause I have to be like work appropriate and work in
Yeah.
elementary school. So you have to be like, so this one, if you're not, into like
Yeah.
naughty language, this might not be the one for you. Here's some other ones that are not as naughty that will help you, and do that. So just, trying to, like I said, even if you like get one meal or two meals a week where you're eating less meat, I think you're doing an amazing job. She's like, no, I've seen your pictures and I've seen, what you're doing. And I really want to, she goes, I really like want to like have these kinds of things. She goes, but again, it's that whole cultural part. Like meat is such a big part of my culture that if I don't eat meat, then I'm going to be, people are going to think that I'm weird in my culture. And I get that. I said, but if you actually look back at the history of your culture and the more native foods, I bet you would find that instead of having one fish per person, they would have had one fish per family.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it's not the fact that you give up fish, but you give up the amount of it and you put more veggies and grains on your plate. And she goes, oh my God, I never really thought of that. So that's
Perfect.
a credit to you for what you've said and how you kind of shaped that, because again, it's really about helping other people do that. And
isn't it crazy? Like there's so many different types of plant foods. And that's what always gets me, because people think, okay, well, what do you eat? It's just so limited to what you can eat if you're not eating meat. And I'm thinking it's the opposite. Like there's so many more plant foods than there are versions of meat. I mean, there's chicken, fish, beef. Okay, there's like a handful of meat foods, right? But like the amount of plant foods, it's crazy. Just beans alone, there's like hundreds.
They are, and they all have different characteristics that make one better, not one better, but for more accustomed to a dish to another one. Like I put in the community a couple weeks ago. Oh my God, I found this one called an ayocote bean, and it's a purpley bean, and it's supposed to be like a really good transition bean if you're a large meat eater into being less of a meat eater. It's a bean one, and my stepson was like, and he's still omni, so he still eats meat outside of the home, and he'll sometimes even bring meat back into the house. And we're fine with that because, he's 17 years old and that's what he wants to do. He'll eat it at home. And when I make his lunches for school, I make his lunches all whole food plant-based because he's lazy. And he's fine with that too. He knows he knows I'm saying that about him. But he was like, no, that one was a really good bean. And so it's that ability to just go, having the courage to buy it. And then I'll substitute it in any of your recipes. I'll be like, oh, she said white beans. Well, we're going to do this bean this week.
Yeah.
And that's what's so fabulous because, even when you make those substitutions or those mistakes, the food still comes out really amazing.
Yeah, it's super forgiving.
Yeah. Which it wasn't when I was eating a lot of meat and they would burn the meat and then it'd be unedible.
Right. And then that'd be it because that's all that you had. Right. It's like, yeah. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, use these meal plans, use this food as like a canvas and feel free to play around, and have fun with it. And so many people, they're like, well, I just didn't realize like how exciting eating was, or like I've fallen in love with cooking again. And it's so fantastic to hear and to see that. And I think you're absolutely right. Your approach to that woman, I think that for people who are not used to, who are used to eating meat, think one of the best things you can do is say, hey, add in some good stuff and just, take some of that other stuff out slightly, and then just do it slowly, because there's no shame in that. And everybody does, some people are like ready to do it cold turkey, and some people just aren't, and that's okay too, So I think that you get an A+ for your answer to her. I just have to say.
Well, thank you. Now I need a gold star,
That's
when
right.
I was a little girl, these put stars right here. So there you go. I have a star from Molly for that run.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share one thing though.
Yeah.
So because I don't think that people always get to see, let me see if you can see this. So this is me right after I had surgery.
Okay.
So this is me at about 227. And so that's my daughter too. And this is me and Alex last Christmas. And Alex actually has gone down in pounds. And people would say to him that
put it to your right a little bit. I couldn't see the whole thing. Yeah. There it is. Okay. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. People will say to him when they see him, because he works for the company that he works for, they'll see him at national meetings and they'll be like, oh, your girlfriend's not feeding you enough, or you're wasting away. What are you trying to do? And when we met, he was actually 315 pounds. And so stopping dairy got him down to a certain amount of weight and gluten. And now with the way that we eat with the meal plans, he's just really like getting trimmer and slimmer, and you can really see it in his face and that, all those things. And, for him, I've even noticed that he would say to me, like, he would have big meals when we first started because he was afraid of not being full. Again, we have the fat kid mentality in our house, and he and I are two people who are like fat kids. We're Tauruses. It all works. But now I can see that sometimes the food is not like, it's not like heavy, but it just has a lot of good nutrition in it. And so I see him actually eating less now. And I'll be like, did you want some more? And he's like, no, I feel full. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yay! He's like, really like doing that. But I think also it's helping him to feel like, that he's going to be okay. And he still has to get over his mental models that, he's going to be full eating this way.
That's right. And it's mindset has such a huge part of this. And actually today I was working on the content for the 2018 plant-based reset. And I was going over one of the areas that I deal with when I cover mindset, because it's such a big thing. And that relationship with food, it's ingrained so deep. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but when you get to that point where you can see food for what it really is, right? Which is fuel for the body. That's why we eat. We eat to fuel our cells so that we survive and we stay alive, right? We don't die. Okay. And it's like people put so many emotions into food, and it's almost like displaced emotions because they don't know where else to put that, or that's how it was, or that's how they grew up, right? Either they get rewarded and they go get ice cream, or they do well in school and they get, they go to Pizza Hut. And so it's like all of this shit that you have to like unlearn when you do this. And so it can be a really emotional journey, and it's like about food, and then there's this whole other part of it that's like not about food either that you have to tackle, and it can be a fairly overwhelming thing, which is why like the community and the private Facebook group and all of our dirty girls are so, and boys, is such a blessing for people who are doing this, because it's like this huge community support group. And I really appreciate your presence in there and you being in the community as well, because I see that you interact so much with people and you're so helpful. And so I really just love having you in the community and knowing that you're doing well and you're happy and healthy and really have found your groove. Like you've really found your groove and you look fantastic. And I loved hearing more about your story. So thank you again.
Well, I appreciate your time and thank you so much. I will tell you, I love being a part of the community, and I advocate for you all the time because I think that it's so important to really focus on your health. Yeah. But every day it's still a struggle. I am still in my mind that 227-pound girl, fat kid moments and all of that. Even though I look the way I do, I still have those struggles. And I don't think that's something that ever goes away. Like when I see people post about, stopping smoking or stopping drinking, you never really stop those things. You're still in your head, one of those people, because those are the things that you just are still in your mental models. And I don't know if that'll ever go away.
Yeah. And it might not, and it might not. And the beautiful thing is that maybe it doesn't have to. Maybe
I'll
it doesn't
think
have
about that
to.
one. Yeah.
You know,
You just embrace the suck.
yeah, you just embrace that part of yourself and just love that part of yourself a little bit more. And and because that part isn't standing in your way on a day-to-day basis, maybe it's okay to be like, you can be here, we can chill together, just let me just love you a little bit. And I think that's, I mean, with my personal struggle with alcohol, I realized that like I'm always gonna miss it. You know, there's never going to be a day where I'm like, I'm so glad I can't drink, you know?
Yeah.
But what I realize is, and, you know, my struggle with alcohol is so similar to so many people struggle with food. It's this, it's just like mirrored, you know? And I think it's the same thing with food. It's like, yeah, if you're always going to have that mindset, then it's okay. It's going to be there. You just love it. And as long as it's not getting in your way and fucking up your life, then it's cool. It doesn't have to go. So we got to embrace and love all the parts of us that make us so quirky and unique and crazy and weird and lovely and beautiful. So there you have it.
And that's what it is. All right.
All right. Cool. Well, it was lovely talking with you, and thanks again for the for your time and for sharing your story. And I know that it'll inspire and ultimately help a lot of people. So thank you again, and it was great to meet you on Skype.
It was nice to meet you too, Molly. Have a wonderful night.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye.